G'day there guys, it's just me and my dog. We're just chilling here today. Really wondering how you're going today. I hope your day is going well. I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some bloody good r/AmITheA content. Let's go. Posted by user A Kimmy. Titled, Am I the a-hole for reporting my neighbours? So I've, 26 female, been living in this same apartment complex for about 5 years now. In the 5 years I've lived here, I haven't had any issues with any of my neighbours until recently. A year ago, a new couple moved in. Things started off rocky because they chose to move in at 12 AM on a weekday. Everyone in the apartment asked them to be quieter as they moved, but throughout the week, they were super loud. More time passed, and the noise didn't stop. The guy stomps around, and the woman is constantly slamming drawers and screaming. They run the laundry past 2 AM, and eventually, I ask them to be quieter. The apartment's quiet hours are from 10 PM to 8 AM. I get laundry goes a little long, but 2 AM? I also asked that they be more courteous about their pets. It wasn't fair that neighbours had to listen to their dogs howl and cats scream well past 1 AM. The guy immediately became defensive and said they're animals and can't help it. He works early and has to have his uniform clean. He went on about how he was a veteran and needed his animals. I told him because they were so loud, I knew that they were home at around 6 PM. If they run the laundry around then, they could easily do 2 loads that would finish around 11. I also told him I get the pets help him, but he could train them to be better behaved. I also get up early, so having his pets act up and his laundry going past 12 was very disruptive. Suffice to say, we don't get along. Recently, there's been this loud sound, like an old engine or a generator. It starts around 11 and goes through the night. I slept in the living room for a while and figured that it would stop soon. I was wrong. I went up to ask them about the sound, but the woman smirked and called her partner over. He told me he purchased an AC and would not be turning it off. I said that was fine, but maybe he could move it or place something under it to muffle it. He slammed the door in my face. So, I reported it to the property manager. Apparently this was the 5th complaint they've had since moving in, so they were fined $500. Since then, they made a point to tell me I have put them under insane financial strain. I feel bad, but I tried to talk to them. Should I feel bad? And am I the a-hole? Edits. 1. It's definitely not just the AC, laundry, and pets. There was a character restriction when I posted, but they've gotten complaints for leaving trash in the stairwells for weeks, not cleaning after their pets, hosting parties during the week for reasons unknown to the other residents, etc., etc. I tried to post the complaints more related to the issue that I filed the complaint on. 2. Yes, there are daily living sounds, but this complex has certain mechanisms built in to mitigate this. An example is the cabinetry. They have a springy thing that prevents them from being slammed and little pads at the corners to muffle sound. For someone to slam the drawers hard enough for the sound to be audible despite these mechanisms is insane. And 3, I guess also for reference, I've lived in apartments most of my life. Having grown up overseas, it's quite common for families to live in high-rises. I'm not sure if it's unique to certain cultures, but I feel like it's just common courtesy to adhere to certain rules, especially if more than one person has voiced concern. I think you mainly feel bad about putting them in dire financial straits in these trying times. While that sucks that they've encountered a $500 fine, it's unfortunately a consequence of their own actions, but I applaud you for trying to look at both sides here and consider whether you went too far and are negatively impacting them. Like, it's easy to just look at this situation and be like, yeah, screw them. They've done everything wrong, they're assholes, and they deserve no pity because they're terrible people. Maybe something's happened in their lives and continues to affect them. Maybe him being a veteran has something to do with this. Maybe it's changed him for the worse, or maybe there's something else going on. Who knows? We don't have any evidence here to assume that any of their behavior was justified, so I'm gonna have to go with not the a-hole here, OP. I feel like you're looking out for your best interests in the face of repeated a-hole behavior from them, and you're standing up for yourself. So good on you for reporting them. Now in the comments, Tropical Diver says, not the a-hole. Yes, $500 will likely have a significant impact. However, it also has a significant impact on their noise level. You tried to speak with them, but they declined to engage with you. That was their choice. Essentially, let the management company handle it. And they did just that. Finally, you didn't impose the fine, nor did you know that that was their 5th complaint, nor was your complaint made in bad faith. All of this. Obviously, it's not just the OP having issues, otherwise they wouldn't be on their 5th complaint. I bet after the first complaint, the neighbors were told that more complaints would result in a fine, yet they chose to be dicks about the air conditioner. Not the a-hole. If you're the 5th complaint, they've upset a lot of people. You shouldn't feel bad. And OP replies, part of me wonders if I should have tried to talk to them again. $500 is a lot of money, and I could definitely see how it would strain them. It's not your fault. You did try speaking with them. It appears more than once. 5 complaints in a year is ridiculous. If they didn't want to be fined, they should have been courteous to those around them. And OP replies, the lady came to me today and said if I retract my complaint, they can get the $500 back, and if I had a conscience, I should do the right thing. I'm torn because I didn't know they would be fined, but also, maybe this is a lesson they need? Do not rescind your complaint. They need consequences to their actions, period. If they keep getting written up, eventually they'll get evicted or move out, and you won't have to deal with their bullcrap. If they had a conscience, they wouldn't be so disrespectful of their neighbors, so don't let them guilt trip you. And OP replies again, I grew up in Korea, where apartments are a common domicile for families. There are certain rules that I take to heart. If my laundry is going to go long, I'll put things out and hang them on a drying rack. I walk on the balls of my feet to try and be quieter, and I don't run the dishwasher, which I've recently discovered is a godsend, past quiet hours, etc., etc. My friends tell me that I'm too stingy with rules, so I was wondering if I was being too sensitive. No. I live in an apartment complex and I like my TV louder, but I double check every 6 months or so that I'm not being too loud with my neighbors. I don't run the vacuum when I figure they're asleep. And OP replies, that's so sweet of you. I wish my neighbors would take notes. Honestly, with some things I could care less. There are certain everyday living sounds that people can't help, like heavy feet, the occasional late laundry, arguments at home, etc. It just gets rough when it becomes excessive and disrupts the lives of everyone around them. So I guess I'll leave it there for you guys. What do you think of that one? And our next post is by user Throwaway37021, titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking out my parents and sister for trying to control my life? Throwaway account because I don't want my family and friends to find out. So I, 22 female, moved out of my parents' house last year to a condo that is 30 minutes away. I did this because I hate living with them, as they're very controlling and like to force my siblings and me to follow their beliefs. My older sister, 24 female, is like my parents, i.e., very traditional and controlling. My parents never approved of us getting the boyfriend. They believe in an arranged marriage and prohibit us from engaging in premarital sex. But I don't care about this bullcrap. I've had boyfriends behind their backs, and only my younger sister, 16 female, knows it, as we are very close. I have a boyfriend, 23 male, whom I've been going out for 8 months now. Yesterday, I invited him over to hang out at my home and we had sex. My older sister decided to visit me out of nowhere and court us. It pissed me off so much that she visited without notifying me. She then started screaming at me and called me a tramp for sleeping around. I tried to make her understand that it was my boyfriend, and even if I was sleeping around, it was none of her business. She didn't like my answer and proceeded to call my parents to snitch on me. Well, they were also pissed, and my mum started going on about how I committed a sin. I'm an atheist, but she doesn't respect it, and forced me to break up with my boyfriend. My dad even started saying how it was time they find a groom for me so that I would behave. I kicked them out of my house and told them to only talk to me if they're willing to apologize to my boyfriend and me for disrespecting us. My mum is now trying to guilt trip me by stating that she's my mum and has sacrificed a lot to raise me. I know that she sacrificed a lot, but I'm not too fond of the way she's treating me. I'm 22, not 12. They're still pissed and have spammed my phone. My cousins heard about it and forced me to apologize to my parents and sister for kicking them out and yelling at them. I refused to do that and blocked them. My younger sister and boyfriend are on my side. She even called out my oldest sister for being a nosy tramp, but nobody is listening to her as she's not an adult. So am I the a-hole for standing up for myself and my boyfriend? Edit 1. Everyone asked if I was an Indian, and the answer to that is yes. I'm an Indian, but not from India. And my sister got into my house with a spare key that I gave her, and I trusted her to use it with my knowledge. But since she breached the trust, I've taken away the key from her and my parents, and I don't think I can go no contact with my parents. But thank you everyone for your opinion and take on this issue. I definitely will set some distance between us and try to make them understand, but if they still try to be difficult, I'll have to go no contact for a few weeks to make them realize I'm legit about this. Thank you again, and as for my youngest sister, she can't live with me now, even though I would love to take her in. But she's also planning to move in with me once she turns 18. My parents are unaware of this. I mean, this is just stupid. It's your house, and it's your relationship. You can do whatever the hell you want. If they're trying to set you up with an arranged marriage, you can always just say no, go away, I'm not listening to you. If you continue to do this, I'm going to cut you off completely. I know you've said that you're not going to do it, but the option is always there, and it's great to have that threat loaded so that you can get them to leave you alone. These people are thinking along the lines of being traditional, but tradition is just peer pressure from dead people, so why should you care? It's all well and good that people can practice and follow these rules that they've set for themselves, but to be imposing that on you is absolutely wrong, and it's not in line with 21st century values. And I feel like that's really broad and vague, but I feel like it makes sense. You know that your parents are wrong, you know that your other sisters, besides your youngest one, are wrong, so you have nothing to worry about because you're not the a-hole in this situation. Now in the comments, Tigers MHS07 says, "Not the a-hole. You're not under their roof. I also hate this thing that people say, but they're your family. So what? I know, right? That only makes what the family's doing worse. OP needs to cut contact with the family. Also, the younger sister, even though she's right, needs to handle things more diplomatically if she's going to be staying with the family for some more time. Not the a-hole. My mum is now trying to guilt trip me by stating that she's my mum and has sacrificed a lot to raise me. Your mum doesn't own you because she raised you. She decided to have kids, so it's her job to raise them. Her raising you is the bare fudging minimum. Your whole family sounds toxic and controlling as F. Who you sleep with is none of their business, and they don't get to decide what you do with your life. You're an adult. They think that just because they're family they can treat OP like crap and be forgiven. She does not owe them anything, and if they don't learn to respect OP as an adult, they're gonna be in for a fun surprise when OP and her younger sister stop talking to them as soon as she turns 18. Also, the other sister is a real see you next Tuesday. Or as we Aussies like to say it, see you in the Northern Territory. Why do so many people post about arguing with a family member and then say that now cousins, aunties, uncles, grandparents, etc. are calling or texting to make demands? Where is this normal behavior? Not the a-hole. It's actually pretty normal in places where the culture always puts your family at a priority. In such places, this sort of interference is a norm because you are family. Plus, since OP is basically breaking all the rules with moving out, being an atheist, having premarital sex, it becomes a huge issue in cultures which place a high value on honor. They will hound you to correct yourself. This sort of comes down to individualist versus collectivist identities in a society. OP's family probably thinks they're all helping her by trying to prevent her from going down a bad path, whereas most people on Reddit, especially on subs like this, assume that each individual is free to make their own choices implicitly, so family interference is abnormal. Not the a-hole, but OP, consider changing your locks if you know your family reacts this way. Depending on culture, they may never accept your current boyfriend, and you're either going to have to suffer their judgments or choose to live without them for an unclear amount of time. Neither seems easy, but it's a choice you're going to have to make. Posted by user QueasyShine5743. Titled, Am I the a-hole for leaving my sister without childcare without notice because she wanted me to come to her? So I have a 3-year-old, and my sister has a kid who is a few months older than mine. I've spent the last 3 years first on maternity leave, then with highly flexible working hours, and then fully working from home. My sister is a nurse, so she's always had insane hours, meaning childcare is very expensive, and with the last year, this has only gotten worse. And so, from the time my child was a few months old, I offered to watch her kid too. Bit of a handful, but as the kids have gotten older, it's gotten easier, helped by my workplace just giving me tasks and deadlines rather than strict hours. Our system was that as my place is between my sister and her workplace, she drops her child by on her way to work and then picks them up on her way home. The route is not direct, so her stopping by my place probably adds a 10-minute detour to her commute. Over the last 18 months, I've entered into a polyamorous relationship with 2 people. We moved in together a couple weeks ago. In the days after the move, my sister consistently called me about half an hour before drop-off and asked that I come to her instead, usually saying that she won't have time to make the detour, and I've agreed. However, after her consistently asking this over several days, I couldn't help but notice that it coincided with me moving my partners in, so I confronted her about it. She said she was uncomfortable with it, and I responded that her child has met my partners before, and she responded that that was separately, and she doesn't want to explain it to her kid because it's weird. I then said I would save her the trouble of explaining and stop babysitting entirely. This conversation happened about 10 minutes before she had to leave for work, so she had to go in late. It's now been a couple weeks. My sister is working herself into a nervous wreck trying to arrange childcare. She's already called in all the favors that she has with relatives, and now she's paying an arm and a leg for a nanny whose hourly wage is not too far off my sister's. She's begged me to resume babysitting, but still at her place only. I feel really bad because not only is this causing her issues, but the kids miss each other terribly. My sister has called me a tramp for trying to force her to be comfortable with strangers around her kid, and for expecting her to apologize for her comments, and I've said that they've met her kid already, and if she was that desperate, she would suck it up and apologize. Info: she knows and has met my partners, although it's usually me and one of them, so she hasn't seen 3 of us interact yet. We spent about 6 months, give or take, arranging the move, which she knew. My partners would never be alone with the kids, which she also knows. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I'm causing family drama and serious issues, both financially and in terms of general stress, and it's not like my sister is going on dates and out for drinks. She's a nurse who is saving lives, so this is essential childcare. She's paying someone about the same as she makes per hour to watch her kid, which is costing her a lot of money, when there's only about 10 to 15 minutes driving between us, and I could easily just go there and help her. OP, I don't think you're obligated to work anything out with her. You have a job that you're working absolutely from home, and you're providing free childcare anytime she needs it. Your only stipulation is that the babysitting has to be at your house, because again, you have a job and your own child. I don't think it's very unreasonable to ask that you shouldn't have to pack up your child and your work and drive out of your way to do a huge favor for someone, which you've been doing for years without complaint. What's important here is what works best for you, OP, which is doing the free childcare in your home. If your sister doesn't like it, she loses her free childcare option. That choice can and should be respected as much as you choosing no longer to provide childcare. I don't think she's so uncomfortable with polyamory as much as she doesn't know and doesn't trust these partners. And it seems like that's a gamble she's unwilling to make, leaving her 3-year-old in her hands, so much so that she doesn't trust you to keep her own child safe after you've been looking after it for all these years. She's just looking out for her kid, and I guess that should be respected, but she's tearing her life apart in the process of finding, an outcome that works best for her. I get how you can feel guilty about this one in this situation, but at the end of the day, it's not your fault. She had 6 months to prepare for this one. She had 6 months to meet these people and realize, hey, they're not going to take advantage of this situation. They are decent people. I know a lot of people would, in this situation, cave into the pressure and go and look after the kid at her house, but it really isn't the answer to this situation. So to answer your question, are you the asshole for leaving my sister without childcare, without notice, because she wanted me to come to her? No. This is a very rock and a hard place situation. She's kind of setting herself on fire to keep her child safe. And I think it's unnecessary in this situation, but then again, I don't blame her. Whatever works best for you raising your own child, I respect that. So I'm gonna have to go not the a-hole. Now, in the comments, Cat in an Oak Tree says, "Your sister is being judgmental about your life and choices in a way that is not okay. She cost herself the free childcare. That's on her. Just stick to your standard. My place is free. If she can't handle that generosity, that is her problem, not yours. Not the a-hole." Like, how hard is it to tell a child you have roommates? This is so judgmental. Agreed, but the real question is, how in the world do you manage to work while taking care of 2 toddlers? You sound like a superhero, OP. And I mean, they are more than OP's roommates though. Honestly, kids aren't gonna care, and you don't need to make these things more complicated than they are. True. When my kid asks questions, they get told, some girls like girls, some girls like boys, some people only love and date one person, some love and date more than one. As long as everyone involved consents and is happy, it's a-okay. First of all, you are not leaving her without childcare. You just are not leaving your workplace. I assume your home office is not just your laptop on the couch. Pay fuel with your money, and spend your time driving on top of providing her free childcare. Your sister is a story for r/choosing beggars. You are not the a-hole, you gave her free childcare. If she's not okay with your romantic choices, that is her problem. But wanting you to use your time and money to give her this free childcare exactly the way she wants is a big a-hole move from your sister. What's always with these people? I've heard the same thing about homosexual couples over the decades. It's not hard to explain to children. Children are malleable as F. They believe in Santa Claus for F's sake. In my experience, it's almost always a dog whistle for, I think showing my child that these things exist may make them want to do it too. Either way, clearly not the a-hole. You are giving away a free service with reasonable expectations. Your sister isn't willing to budge, so she loses out. That's her choice. And our next post is by user ThrowRAShoes1, titled, "Am I the a-hole for kicking my nephew out when I caught him trying to scalp my husband's shoes?" So my husband and I live close to a top 10 university. It's a very expensive area. My nephew, when applying to universities, asked if he could live with us. We agreed to give him the studio flat above our garage for £150 a month. The average studio in the area is $600 to $800, so we felt that we were doing him a huge favor and thought he understood that. He moved in September. My husband has a back issue that makes bending over painful, so when I saw the new Nikes, I got really excited, as the idea is you just step into the shoes. My husband was equally excited because he has a few similar items, but they're either uncomfortable, don't fit properly, or look like crap. I ordered a pair as soon as they were available, and by some miracle I got them. A few weeks ago, I caught my nephew taking pictures of them. He said he wanted to show his friends. A couple days later, these shoes were gone. I asked my nephew to help me look, but he said he couldn't as he was going to the post office. Spidey senses started tingling, so I asked him a few questions, and he tripped himself up very quickly. He admitted to selling the shoes online, and his trip to the post office was to send them off. I took the shoes back and told him to cancel the transaction. He refused, we argued, and I asked him to leave. He then began apologizing, but I held firm, and he left that same day. He has moved back in with his mum, my sister, and his uni is online for now, but should be back in person by September. So he's talking about dropping out of the uni nearest me and transferring to the uni nearest him, which is in the bottom 10 universities in the country out of 130. I feel that he's an adult. He should know that stealing is wrong. A significant amount of my family, however, have contacted me saying that I'm ruining my nephew's life, that he's a dumb kid, and that without my help, he'll go from one of the best unis in the country to one of the worst over one little mistake that he's apologized for. His mother has been his strongest champion, saying he apologized and that should be enough. And my nephew himself has called me, saying that it was one dumb mistake. He apologized, he can't go back to the good uni without my help, and doesn't deserve to have his life ruined over this. He's offered to pay more rent, not the market rate, but maybe £300, and pointed out that due to the setup of the flat, we'll never have to interact with him anyway, and can keep him out of the house. But he needs to stay with us to complete his studies. I've said that he should have thought of how badly he needed our help before he tried to steal from us. Going to one of the universities in the top 10 of the country really isn't an excuse for, redeeming his behavior here. He should know not to steal. He should have learned that lesson earlier in life. Now he's trying to scalp some shoes off of you that are rare and your husband absolutely needs them for his crippling back pain. He cannot redeem himself here. There is nothing he can do, and there's nothing you should, accept apologies for to help him out in this situation. He deserves everything he got, and he needs to live with the consequences of that. What he did was ridiculously scummy and was in bad faith, so there's no redeeming this. There is absolutely no redeeming this. He took advantage of your family and of your generosity, and he deserves to learn this lesson the hard way. Screw him, you're not the a-hole. Now in the comments, Sizizizizizigi says, not the a-hole. What really got me here was that when he got caught and you asked him to cancel the transaction, he initially refused. That's something else. It's one thing to make a stupid mistake, although to sell an accessibility device such as shoes that help your husband deal with his pain is abhorrent, but then to double down when caught is not a good look at all. Also, this mistake was fully calculated. Totally not the a-hole. You would rightly never be able to trust him again, and also, what a classist argument they have. You are not ruining your nephew's life, he will be just fine at the other school. And OP replies, his logic with the refusal is that Nike are meant to be releasing a new batch of them later this year. There are alternatives to this shoe, and he sold them for triple what I paid. So his refusal was more of a suggestion that we split the money 50-50, and I either buy an alternative, or wait for the next drop to buy them again at the same price that I bought them the first time. Tell him you split the difference between subsidizing his rent and pressing charges against him for theft and kicking him out. Personally, I'd be curious to know if he stole anything else from them, and why he thought they weren't going to notice a very expensive pair of hard-to-get shoes was missing. Flippin' Freddy says, nope, he bit the hand that feeds him. He had a great setup, and he decided to blow that by being a thief. He isn't a child. He knows how stealing is wrong. On top of that, he didn't just steal. Like, oh, I have bills, or oh, I'm helping you. He stole and sold them so he can profit. Worse is he stole an essential item for your currently disabled husband. He's lucky that you didn't press charges, and of course he lied about it. So now he's an untrustworthy person. Do not invite him back into your home. Better yet, do a double check on all of your valuables. Make sure he didn't sell off anything else. If your family is so upset about it, someone else can house him, or they can collectively pay for his studio closer to university. Heck, he can get a studio with a roommate or two to help keep costs down. He messed up, and it's not up to you to fix. He's an adult and can suffer the consequences of his actions, not the a-hole. Nephew is facing the natural consequences of being a thief and a liar. He's not allowed back into OP's home because he is willing to steal from his aunt and uncle, willing to lie until caught red-handed, and attempting to justify his lying and stealing. It's not a little mistake. It's bordering on disability abuse. If you really understand how being able to put on your own shoes made OP's partner feel. If it were me, I would be tempted to tell everyone who is suggesting giving the nephew a second chance to get stuffed. They aren't doing him any favors by treating this as an innocent mistake. He listed and sold goods that were not his. He tried to lie his way out of it. He deserves to be banned from OP's house. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Friendly reminder that I'm now posting daily on my second channel, Markee 2. If you want to laugh at memes with me, link is down in the description below. On phone, you just click that little arrow underneath the video. I also want to say thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your names are currently floating down the screen here, and I love to see all of you guys. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it. If you see yourself on screen, I want you to give yourself a big pat on the back for being amazing as always, and thank you for supporting me again. I do hope that you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever it is you're up to. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.